everybody! Welcome back to my channel. I'm Yogi Bear. It is good to be seen. I hope you're having a good day so far. I am. I had a really rough February. Like, the entire month was really rough. Obviously there were some good days, there were some good moments, etc. But the month as a whole was a little chaotic. So, today I actually have been, very productive, and I've been feeling more myself today than I have in the past month. So I'm really happy about that. And I really hope March is a better month than February was. But anywho, whether it's a good month so far or you're having a rough go of it, I hope that today you have a good moment, you have a good time doing something you enjoy. Today is Hidden City. Wow, I almost combined all three names of my video games. That would not have worked out. It is Hidden City Day, and we're going to be doing puzzles and find-its, etc. Today I will be talking about the history of knitting. I really enjoy crafts. Crochet is more my craft than knitting, but I do enjoy knitting. If you were here Friday and you heard about, and you heard me say that I needed my copper gloves, knitting and crocheting are the reasons why I need copper gloves, because it keeps my hands from feeling the pain of doing repetitious movements. Excuse me. I wasn't sure. I probably should have just looked up the history of crochet. Maybe next time. We'll see. If you have a suggestion or something that you would like for me to look into, for me to talk about on Monday streams, feel free to let me know, and I will consider it. Because these are topics that I enjoy, but I know that not everybody will enjoy them. So if you have a topic that you enjoy, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will look into that. This will be a brief overview of history. It's not a deep dive whatsoever. If you have knitting knowledge, feel free to let us know. I'd love to hear it. I think that's everything I wanted to say. So let's get into it. Where is my... There it is. Are you proud of me? I had it all set up. Have you ever thought to yourself... Oh, I didn't click it. Hold on. Making sure the music's not too loud. Oh, did I not turn the music... I turned the music on. Yeah, it's on. Oh well. If it's too loud, I'll figure it out. Oh, there it is. Do you ever have a moment where you're thinking to yourself, wow, everything is going so smoothly. I'm impressed. Well, as I'm setting up my stream and as I'm doing things, I'm thinking to myself, wow, everything is setting up beautifully. Then I come over to Hidden City, and it still needed to download several things for some reason. And then my streaming platform was like, you're not signed in to Twitch. And I thought to myself, yes, I am. I've never signed out. What do you mean? So fortunately, it all got figured out, and here we is. Ooh. My stream snack of the day is carrots and hummus, and I have coffee with me. What was this one? Oh, that was 5. And I have my water, so I hope you are hydrating, and I hope you have a snack as well. I was on the phone with my brother earlier today, and he talked about popcorn, and that made me intrigued. I might get popcorn later today. We'll see. Okay, I know it's okay. We'll move on. There it is. Oh, man. I remember where red things are in general, but sometimes the specific... Oh, my word. Okay, we're moving on, because that's... There we go. I'm thinking to myself, this is in this vicinity. Then I keep clicking the wrong card. I used to be really good at find-its or matches. Not the kind that you light on fire. You know what I mean. This kind. What? Huh. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, I thought I had done that combination. But alas, I did not. Okay. So, the information I have for you today is from... Oh, no, hold on. Let me finish this up, and then I will tell you. Yay! We're remembering a little bit! I thought this was going to be an easy lead-in to Hidden City. It is not. There we go. Okay. Alright. So, I finished! Turn off the clicky clicks! Goodness. Alright. So, most of the information I'm going to give you is from Wikipedia, and I just simply Googled the history of knitting. However, at first, I'm going to give you information from motherknitter.com because she gives a very brief overview, which I like. I enjoy that, to sort of lead into it. And then, as I said, if we should have time, but I'll say if just in case that's not the case. If we have time, we will go over to Wikipedia and finish out the information. So, knitting has been a long and fascinating history that originated in the Middle East and Eastern Mediterranean about the 11th or 12th century. I figured that knitting has been around for a while, but I did not realize exactly how long till she and the Wikipedia also backs it up that the 11th and 12th century. So one of the first artifacts that we find is from Egypt. I believe it's socks. Yeah. Egyptian socks from that era. Knitting then spread to Europe, where male guilds used it to make religious garments. Ooh. So I'm gonna go on a little side rant about, yes, knitting, but I think crafts in general. So I actually am a part of a crafting group, and several of us do knit, some of us crochet, what have you. It's just a little get together every week, and one of the ladies was saying how not many people seem to knit anymore. And she was asked, or, do crafts in general. And she was asking, she's like, do you think that's because they weren't taught from a young age, or do you think they just don't have an interest? And we were just all discussing it together. And I said, I know that I grew up learning how to crochet. Now, knitting, that's self-taught. I'm not as good at it as I am crocheting. But I said, I think, and this is my opinion, there is something to be said for someone older teaching someone younger, because they have the wisdom, they have the understanding of time. Like, they have tried things before we were even born, and they can tell what works, what doesn't work, maybe sometimes even why it works and why it doesn't work, depending on the person. And I was saying, I said, I was taught from a young age, someone older than me and who had been doing it for a while taught me. Whereas I don't think that's done as often anymore. A lot of times when I'm talking to someone about my age, about crafting, they often say, oh, I watched a YouTube video, or I'm self-taught, like I am self-taught in knitting. Which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being self-taught. However, I don't know I still don't know if I am holding the knitting needles correctly or the yarn. I have looked up so many times how to hold the yarn while you're finagling 2 or more needles. So I think that I would be better at knitting had I learned from someone. So if you are younger and you know someone who has a skill that you want to learn, I would encourage you to reach out to them and ask them. I mean, the worst they can say is, no, I don't have time, or no, thank you. That's the worst they can say. The best they can say is yes, and they teach you what has worked for them, what has stood the test of time, either that they learned from someone or that they have figured out themselves. So, and typically when I ask someone older than me to teach me, they are usually very happy to teach. Because the knowledge and the wisdom they have is no longer just for them. They're able to give it away as well. I think that once, oops, okay, that's a wine glass though, right? Okay, that's what I was clicking. Oh well. What was I saying? I don't remember. It distracted me. Parasol. Giraffe. Oh, not yet. Anyway, typically when I ask someone if they could teach me their skill, they're happy to teach. And I get a better understanding with that one-on-one than if I had tried to figure it out myself. Oh, that's what I was saying. In my opinion, once someone gets to a certain age, a lot of times younger people push that person to the side or ignore what they say because, oh, that's just the old fuddy-duddy. That's just so, outdated ideas or outdated things. When are they 100% up to date in modern technology? No. Are they 100% up to date on modern ways of thinking? No, but I also think there's value in not being up to date in 100% in modern thinking. Certain principles and certain things have stood the test of time for a reason. That's a top, not a pinwheel. And I don't think we should brush people to the side just because they're older than us. I think we should value their opinions and their thoughts. Now, can someone older than you be wrong? Absolutely, 100%. I'm not saying don't check. I'm not saying blindly follow. I am saying a lot of what they know and what they've experienced is valuable, and to not push them to the side just because they're older. Anywho, that's my little rant, and it doesn't, and I believe if we are not careful, crafts and handwork, handmade things will become a thing of the past if we do not take care to teach someone the craft that we know. And if that person decides to continue it, or if they decide to not continue it, that is their prerogative. But I believe that people should at least be taught a certain craft, whether it's woodworking, whatever it is. Today we're talking about knitting, so I should probably get back on topic. But I believe there is value in elders teaching the youngers crafts and workmanship, whatever that is. So, gradually, knitting became a critical aspect of daily life, practiced by people of all genders and cultural backgrounds, and cherished as means of providing warmth and comfort through handcrafted clothing and blankets. I will say that knitting a blanket takes forever. I am currently knitting a blanket and it's taking forever. Sorry, I needed a bite of my snack. So, before knitting, there was a Norwegian technique called, it's a Norwegian word meaning needle binding. And it used a fabric similar to, is that all I can do? I could have done this. Oh well. It was a similar technique with looping and knotting, essentially, knotting, the fabric, but it was done with one needle. And it sounds to me like crochet, but at the same time not. Because knitting is more associated with knotting than crochet is. Archaeologists have found the Norwegian, essentially fragments or scraps dating from various periods, such as 10,000 years ago in Israel and 7,750 BC in Germany. So essentially these crafts and these techniques have been around for a very long time. Wasn't that 3 in a row? There was 3 white gems in a row, and it didn't count. They mixed it up. I'll have to review the footage to see if that's right or not. I don't think I'm going to use any of my tools, because I don't think I'm going to succeed today. Or this time around, anyway. Well, maybe. No. Oh, well. No, we're not going to use that. It's okay. That's okay. Another precursor to knitting was finger knitting, which is a simple form of knitting done using only the fingers. Hence the name. this is something that children used to do, or like would take advantage of because they were too young to use the needles, or if your family couldn't afford needles, then you would do the finger knitting. And knitting literally comes from a word meaning to knot. And it reminds me of that Winnie the Pooh, where they're asking Piglet if he can knot. And he cannot knot. So, it's one of my favorite clips to listen to. The pure confusion in all of them trying to understand each other. And of course, these early forms of needlework laid the foundation to develop the knitting that we know today. Over time, knitting spread throughout the world and became popular in Europe, particularly in Scandinavian countries, where it was used to create intricate patterns for clothing, blankets, and household items. The use of high-capacity knitting machines during the Industrial Revolution did make it easier, as you can imagine. I was reading on, I know we're going to go to the Wikipedia one in a minute. However, I do want to say somewhat, knitting and weaving are two different things. Knitting is predominantly done with 2 or more knitting needles, whereas weaving requires a loom. And it threw me off a little bit when I read that because I've seen the knitting machines. However, I saw a picture of there's a picture of one on Wikipedia, and I realized that even though it looks like a loom, it really isn't, because yes, the yarn is looped onto many different spokes, but it only one spoke at a time is increased with the knitting. It's really interesting to watch and to see. There's the mask. I knew it was here somewhere. This room, there it is. Oh, those are slippers. I tend to talk too much in this room, and I don't get done what needs to get done. I don't think I'm going to finish. Here's binoculars. Give me a second. Do I have? I do not have. I thought. Here's the record. For the record. I thought I had one of those. Okay. I just didn't know how to access it from here. I was gonna say, we're about to hear that awful ticking sound again. Okay, we're just going to use that tool because I'm not seeing it. Also, did you know that knitting machines were first used in the late 1500s? I did not realize how old knitting machines were. I thought that was a more recent development. It makes sense, because I'm sure people want to be able to make and sell faster without hurting their hands. Oops. I thought that one was to the bomb, and it wasn't. Oh my goodness. So essentially all of these are gonna be... Oh my. Okay. Oh, we did it. We got all that out without... Ooh, I did it. Wow. Interesting. Okay. However, hand knitting persisted as a beloved and widely practiced craft, enjoyed by people from all walks of life. The rise of online communities such as Ravelry and social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook have facilitated greater connections and exchange between knitters, making it easier for them to share patterns and be inspired by one another. Indeed, it is really cool seeing what other people have created with knitting, crocheting, even scrapbooking, which I have heard many people say that scrapbooking is probably going to be a dying art with all of our digital albums and such. And that makes me sad. I very much enjoy looking through scrapbooks that my mom has made. What's in the picture frame? And I very much enjoy seeing printed pictures on walls and as decorations, too. I really hope that doesn't become a thing of the past. I really think there is a, I don't know how I want to say it. There is value in keeping things in the real world. I believe that technology has a place. I mean, I'm streaming a video game that I'm playing right now. And I will upload it to another social media platform later. So obviously there is enjoyment and there is value in modern technology. However, when we completely abandon the real world for modern technology, I think that's very hard on us, mentally and physically. I really hope we don't, as a society, abandon the real world for online. Everything has a place and there should be a balance to it. Video games and social media is fun, but we should also not forget how to ride a bike and to go outside and to enjoy the sunshine and the fresh air. Ooh, a myriad. Be snails, yep. There it is, that last little one. Anywho, knitting does offer a wide range of benefits to individuals and society. On a personal level, knitting can help reduce stress and anxiety by focusing on the present. It enhances cognitive function. Interesting. Okay, hold on. That's true. I'm sorry, I'm reading ahead. I'm trying to read ahead. I'm not doing a very good job today. I apologize. But essentially, she's saying that it includes various parts of the brain to knit. Hand-eye coordination, motor skills, cognitive, and frontal lobe functions. It can be a good creative outlet. It can be a good way to, once again, find a group of people to compare patterns to share patterns with, to help with tips and tricks. So that is essentially what is on the motherknitter.com There's a bit more on there. If you wish to see the site for yourself, please do so. Oh no. We have one more! Oh. Interesting. And Wikipedia starts out by essentially giving us the definition of knitting, which is 2 or more needles being used to loop yarn together. Once again, knitting literally comes from to knot or knotting. Then it became knitting. Wikipedia does agree and about knitting coming about in the 11th and 12th centuries in Egypt. Give me a second. There it is. Alright. Goodness. I'm not seeing any of it. Alright. Huzzah. I know where the cushion is. That's one of the first things I saw. Once again, the oldest knitting artifacts are socks from Egypt, dating from the 11th century. They are a very fine gauge, done with complex colorwork, and some have a short row heel, which necessitates the purl stitch. These complexities suggest that knitting is even older than the archaeological record and prove. Earlier pieces have knitted or crochet pieces that have been shown to be made with other techniques, such as the Norwegian technique we talked about earlier. I'm not going to try to attempt to say the name. Nope. Okay. Aw, man. I was gonna say there is a 5-1 somewhere around here. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Fantastic. Wow, I thought for sure we were gonna not do too well on that one, considering how I absolutely was horrible when I didn't have restricted moves. The earliest known knitted items in Europe were made by Muslim knitters employed by Spanish Christian royal families. Their high level of knitting skill can be seen in several items found in the tombs in the Abbey of Santa Maria la Real de las Huelgas. I'm so sorry. I did my best to say those names. This is on Wikipedia. Once again, I simply typed in history of knitting, and this came up on Wikipedia. So if you can say the names better, you are welcome to go see it and pronounce it better than me. Among the items is a knitted cushion cover and gloves. They are found in a prince's tomb, and the prince had died in 1275. So once again, this is another very early example of a knitted piece. When a deer, a female deer. There he is. And there's jelly pudding. There's also numerous knitted garments and accessories dating from the mid-13th century. They have been found in cathedral treasuries in Spain. Okay, I don't think we're ever going to get the Room of Fate in the silhouettes mode. It has yet to happen. And that prompt has been up there for a while. Several European paintings depict the Virgin Mary knitting as well. The thing I thought was interesting was, where'd it go? In Scottish history, knitting was such an important occupation among those living on the Scottish Isles during the 17th and 18th century that whole families would knit together and work together in making sweaters, accessories, socks, stockings, etc. Fair isle techniques were used to create an elaborate, colorful pattern. Sweaters were essentially garments for the fishermen of these islands because the natural oils within the wool provided some element of protection against the harsh weather encountered while out fishing. I just thought that was so interesting. To me, I love the thought of a little family sitting around together, talking and knitting away. I thought that was so sweet. Once again, these are techniques and trades passed down in the family. The youngers would learn, and from more than likely their parents, and they'd carry it on to their children. I love that idea of tradition. Finally, in the Industrial Revolution, the mechanical knitting machine was invented in 1589 by William Lee, an English clergyman. After receiving a pair of black stockings from William, Queen Elizabeth I ultimately declined the patent to give him because it was too itchy on her royal ankles and she did not enjoy it. However, France's King Henry IV saw the opportunity William's invention provided and offered him financial support. So where one monarch would not support, another monarch did. Once again, it blows me away how old the knitting machine is. I think last week we were talking about nail polish. And the reason why I said I'm surprised how new nail polish as we know it today is because in the grand scheme of things, of the history of the world, a lot of things that we know today were invented in the 1500s, the early, the 11th, 12th century. So it amazes me that we figured out how to get a machine to knit for us before we figured out how to sell nail polish in a bottle. Now, to be fair, I think the knitting machine is more important than the nail polish in a bottle. However, it is still funny to me. But what do I know? I can't even find a harmonica. Or the umbrella. There's the harmonica. That's the cane. Oh my goodness. That's way back there in the background. Anywho, William, the inventor of the knitting machine, moved to Rouen, Rouen, where he built a stocking factory. Before long, the French spread the knitting loom throughout Europe. When the device came back to Great Britain, the Worshipful Company of Framework Knitters was incorporated in 1657 in London. Framework knitting was predominantly performed at home, often with the entire family participating. Knitting seems to be a real family-oriented activity, which I do not mind at all. I think that's a good thing. The city of Nottingham, particularly the district known as Lace Market, was a major producer of machine-knitted lace. The surrounding counties had long had an association with hosiery industry. This continued particularly growing with the invention of portable circular knitting machines. The mid-19th century is when the hand knitting was declining as part of knitting industry, but was increasing as patterns and yarns were produced for leisure as well as the industrial use by authors such as Jane Gougin? I don't know how to say her name. I apologize. I don't think I have... I don't know what that stick is. Is it... Nope. It's not that. Oh, it's a flute. Okay. During World War I, many women and children knitted large quantities of clothing and accessories to help the war effort on the Allied side. Supplementing the troops' uniforms with socks, hats, scarves, sweaters, mufflers, and balaclavas. Knitting and women's magazines, along with the Red Cross, published pamphlets and patterns specifically for sailors and troops. Popular magazines and songs treated knitting as a craze that swept through over Britain in the effort to support the military forces. The ski pole always evades me. There's the mitten. There it is. It's so little. In In the 1920s, a vast increase in the popularity of knitwear in much of the Western world happened. Knitwear, especially sweaters and pullovers, became an essential part of the new fashions of the age for men, women, and children. Rather than most practical garments often associated with particular occupations, late teens and early 1920s saw a fashion for knitted neckties. That would be interesting. To knit a necktie. Oops. Alright, one more. We can do it. Uh-oh. Oh, I was right. There was one over there. I just clicked the wrong thing. Knitwear was often associated with sport and leisure. Garments often became associated with particular sports. For example, white sweaters and pullovers, often with a colored stripe in the collar, became common for tennis and cricket. Whatever club you were a part of had a color to it, and that was the color in your collar. I am blanking. There's one. Do you ever stare at something for so long or you do something for so long you kind of zone out? And it's like, I can see, I just can't seem to see what I'm looking for. Even though it's right in front of my face. And oftentimes when I'm editing or rewatching, I'll see it and I'll think to myself, it was right there. Why couldn't I seem to see it? Speaking of knitting, there's knitting needles and yarn right there. One more. There it is. Ta-da! Wrong word. Okay. Oh no! I thought... Never mind. I have to remember where everything is. Alright! Now that we're actually getting better at that, it's about time for us to go. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the history of knitting. I certainly did. I'm sorry that today was it was a bit broken up. next week I'm going to try something else, try something different so that it's more of a continual flow of information and not just a constant pause in between facts. So we will see how that goes. Don't forget to snack. Don't forget to hydrate. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, weekend, whenever you're watching this. Bye, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today. If you liked this video, please like it. If you enjoy this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. If you would like to interact with me live, come on over to Twitch. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is when I game.